This week on All Access Sports, we're bringing you the 148th British Open Championship, taking you behind the scenes of NFL's offseason, catching you up on the major sports league's biggest signings, and then charging full speed into the Battle of LA. Will the king rise or fall? Only here on All Access Sports. Welcome to All Access Sports. I'm Jordan Orcus.
And I'm Gino Ganella.
Tonight, we're breaking down the latest topics in sports. Let's tee things off.
Well, Jordan, the British Open Championship is the last chance for these golfers to prove themselves on the major stage. While big-name golfers like Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson, and Rory McIlroy took part in the tournament, it was a weekend that saw the emergence of the young talent on tour. Let's take a look at the highlights. Heading out to the 148th Open Championship of Royal Portrush in Northern Ireland, Connor Syme, beautiful shot there, finds the hole. Brooks Koepka normally has good major championships. Said earlier, the only time you see him play golf is when he's on TV. This was a great shot, just missing the cup. That would foreshadow the rest of his tournament. Finish at 6 under, tied for 4th. Tiger Woods didn't have a great tournament overall, missed the cut, but this one bright spot. He sinks the long birdie putt, feeling good after that one. The European golfers were the story of this Open Championship. Danny Willett, third round, chips in from a valley. He finished tied for 6th at 5 under. Ashton Turner, 23 years old. What a moment for this kid. Chips in from the rough on 10. He finished 57th overall. But the man of the hour, Shane Lowry. Third round, 16th hole. Puts it nice and close to the pin. He would sink the ensuing birdie putt. 32 holes tied or holding the lead for Lowry. This putt would make it 15 under. Wouldn't have a great Sunday, but neither would anyone else. He would win his first ever major championship, beating Tommy Fleetwood by 6 strokes. For more on this, we head over to Chris Mediat.
Thanks, Gino. They say golf is a game of driving for show and putting for dough. And in the modern age of golf, where professionals seem to be getting bigger, stronger, and younger, keeping up with the pack is becoming as difficult as beating the pack. With a star-studded field featuring the world's best each year, the 4 major events present the ultimate test of precision, preparation, and will to win. Battling the course and field of top players for 4 days leaves the golfer on an arduous uphill climb to reach golf's mountaintop. It's a test unlike anything else these players see on tour, and it's why winning a major is so fulfilling. It welcomes you into an exclusive club among the game's legends and solidifies your place in golf history. Major championships are about capitalizing when it counts. And although he didn't win at Royal Portrush last week, the run Brooks Koepka has been on has been drawing comparisons to the stretch of golf Tiger Woods played from 2000 to 2001, where he won 4 majors in a row. There's no doubt that Brooks Koepka has established himself as an elite player on tour, and quite frankly, maybe we shouldn't be surprised he's won 4 out of the last 11 majors. Since 2017, his score to par is an outrageous 73 under par, with fellow young gun Ricky Fowler trailing in second on the list with an impressive 35 under par himself. Capitalizing on your opportunities to score is what sets players apart from the field, and Brooks certainly knows how to do that. Let's take a look at some shots from the 3rd round of the Open Championship, where he carded a 4 under round to start the weekend. Starting on the par 5 second, after absolutely annihilating a 3-wood off the tee, Koepka has 250 into a heavy crosswind and launches an iron to the front of the green, eventually rolling up and settling a few paces on the front. And he steps up for eagle, and it's tracking on line and just misses below the hole, setting up a kick-in birdie at the second. Koepka moved quickly to 1 under on the day following that string of mammoth shots by the world's #1 player. But let's pick it up on the par 5 7th, playing 577 yards on the day. Koepka with a 3-wood from 260 crushes another beauty, moving back towards the center of the green and scoring some serious air mileage points in the process. That ball lands and comes to rest just short of the green and rides the false front before settling just off the green. Now, like most players we've seen this week around the greens, Koepka elects to putt and gives it a run, but it misses just wide, setting up another tap-in. Now look, there are a ton of factors that play a role in performing well at majors. The mental strength necessary to battle the course, the toughest field of players, and in a week like we just saw at Royal Portrush, the elements. You need a bit of it all, and for a guy who's averaging 310 yards off the tee, taking advantage of par 5s is critical. With the tour average driving distance off the tee at under 300 yards, Brooks finds himself near the top of a category of golfers who can really poke it. Having the firepower and accuracy to attack greens from over 250 yards away leaves you with easier shots for eagle and consistently more looks for close birdie. Brooks has been averaging 4.5 strokes or better on par 5s each season since 2017, which was the year his historic major championship run began. And we have not seen any signs of him slowing up yet. Mr. Major may not have been crowned Champion Golfer of the Year last week, but with Brooks at the top of his game and seemingly only getting better, he's proving that the world's #1 player is here to stay. Stay tuned. When we return, Gino travels inside the gridiron with our NFL insiders. I'm Chris Mediat with All Access Sports.
Welcome back to All Access Sports. With the NFL preseason right around the corner, teams are getting anxious to show off their newly acquired players for the upcoming season. The hard work during the preseason provides teams the ability to establish their identity on the field. For more on the NFL offseason and a team generating a lot of hype around them, we bring in our NFL 49er analyst, PJ Sioka. PJ, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Well, PJ, let's get right into it. The 49ers, coming off a rough season, Jimmy G getting hurt last year. That was their big piece last year. Will he be ready to go this year?
So from what I've been seeing around the league is that Jimmy G is going to be ready to go by the opening day. You know, he's been participating in 7-on-7 drills, you know, really working out that knee. Kyle Shanahan's optimistic that he's ahead of schedule in his rehab start. And for Jimmy G, I think it's a little bit more of like a revenge tour, you know, coming to the team 2 years ago, the end of 2017, showing his presence right away, going 5-0 to end that season, kind of generating some high expectations for last season. You know, obviously we know he tore his ACL week 3 and was out for the rest of last year. So I think now it's kind of like a, you know, kind of showing what he can do as a quarterback, leading this team hopefully through a full season.
And, you know, Jimmy G, he's coming back this year. He's a big piece that could lead them in the right direction this year. Obviously, a lot of other pieces as well. The pieces are there, but can they be a playoff team?
It's tough to say so early in the season. They made a lot of moves on draft night. You know, they acquired Nick Bosa with the number 2 overall pick, as well as Dee Ford, a prominent tackle for the Chiefs for so long. So I think that can add to the defensive aspect of things where they rank very, very high in the league and most points allowed. And just trying to cut down those one-possession losses. They had a ton of those last year. And as far as the offensive side, it all comes down to realistically how Jimmy G bounces back from this torn ACL. They drafted Deebo Samuel out of South Carolina, a promising receiver, and added another veteran piece in Jordan Matthews to the receiving corps. So I think depending on if they stay healthy, I think they can make a run for the playoffs, but it's all going to depend on how these players mesh together and whether or not they can stay on the field.
Yeah, health, chemistry, those are two things we don't often talk about when we're looking at, you know, teams, but they're the intangibles that are the keys to success and the difference between a good team and a bad team. PJ, right. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Next, we're going to head to the Giants. They're looking to have a rebuild this year. Moving forward, they're looking just to get better each year. Obviously, Golden Tate is a piece they can build around. They have some good pieces on defense too. Jabril Peppers coming over in the Odell trade. A lot to really look at with the Giants. This year might not be the year, but looking forward, we're going to have to see how that pans out for them. And now for more on the Giants, we bring in our analyst, Jamie Magone. Jamie, how you doing today?
Doing great. Great to be here, Gina.
Now, we talked about rebuild a little bit here. Obviously, Saquon's a start to that. Some other young pieces on the defensive and offensive side of the ball. How long until this Giants team can compete again?
Well, we should ask Daniel Jones that question, I think, because if he is able to develop into a quarterback that lives up to the pick he was taken at, then sure, or even a first rounder for that matter, for God's sake, then sure, they can be competing within, I say, 3 years. But if not, then either the process starts all over again through the draft, or you have to think about trading, signing. The problem is we don't know if he's going to play this year, Daniel Jones, or if they're going to ride out Eli Manning the whole year this season. So it really just depends on how fast he can develop. And I think he should sit this year to see, learn a lot from Eli Manning.
Now, one of the guys they drafted last year, Saquon Barkley, it was a big piece for them last year. But can he be the centerpiece for this Giants rebuild?
As dynamic as Saquon Barkley is, both as a runner and a receiver, it's tough for me to see him as a centerpiece. I mean, you look at a team like the Rams. How good was Todd Gurley been? But it wasn't really until Jared Goff started playing at a higher level that they took off. So I think that despite all the success Saquon had in his rookie year, look where it got them. It's still a losing record and one of the top picks in the draft. So I struggle with the thought of Saquon being the ultimate centerpiece. I think it has to be that quarterback. You look around the league, a running back isn't carrying any of these teams. Again, you can go to Dallas. Ezekiel Elliott's great. They need Dak Prescott to play well in order for them to go farther in the playoffs. So I would say no, he can't be the absolute centerpiece. He can be the most talented player, but not the centerpiece, if that makes sense. They still need a more important player at the quarterback position.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how things pan out for Daniel Jones. Obviously not a popular pick by Giants fans in the beginning, but hopefully for their sake, it all works out. Jamie, thanks so much.
Thank you.
That's all the time we have for this segment of Inside the Gridiron. Stay tuned for the big money discussion and later, breaking down the king himself when we return on All Access Sports.
Welcome back to All Access Sports. I'm here with Cam Crabb and Chris Mediat. So we're talking contracts and signings. So what has changed in the way teams negotiate contracts for their players?
Well, Major League Baseball, teams are giving guys 10-year, $300 million deals. You got guys like Arenado, Mike Trout, who are staying in their towns for, years to come. And, it's a great sign for baseball that, these stars want to stay in their towns and they want to stay with their fans. But, you see across other sports, there's a lot of player movement.
Yeah, and also guys like Bryce Harper, homegrown guys inside the Washington Nationals system now deciding to leave after a season like 2015 where Bryce Harper was the NL MVP. He was hitting .330, hit 42 bombs. Now goes to Philly, right, signs this massive contract, 13 years, $330 million, hitting a mere .258, right? So you look at the change of city, the team, the organization, and you really notice that they're in this for the long haul. They're here, they're investing in the future. And, what it really comes down to is, are teams paying these players for the players they were or the players they are?
Well, you can clearly see with the Seattle Mariners, they pay guys all the time for the player they were. Robinson Cano played great for the Yankees. Goes over to Seattle, plays great. But, Seattle's, kind of where players go to die. There's nothing there.
Right.
There's no guys there. No one wants to see it play.
You also have to think 13 years is a long time.
Yeah.
Does that pressure players to maintain their performance throughout the contract?
I think it has to, right? It has
to. I think that it definitely adds pressure, down the line towards the end of the contract, especially because, this is when your investment's supposed to be paying off, right? The idea, you invest in these big-time players, you sign them for long periods of time, you have them on your team, you build around them. And what it really comes down to is, if you can get the return on that investment, how well you could build around them and, see where the future takes you.
Look at the Angels with Mike Trout. They have the best player maybe of all time. Right. He's the best player I've ever seen. They have yet to put a team around him that can make that guy in that situation, in that city, be the guy for the league. He's the best player in baseball. Guys all across sports. If you're the best player in that league, everyone sees you come postseason time. I've seen Mike Trout once. Let's see what he can do. Let's put a team around him and get out of there.
And we see in Major League Baseball a lot now. We see this race to the $100 million that they're going to make, right? Who's going to make the most? Who's going to be the highest paid player? Who's going to have the longest contract, right? And we see this, especially, with guys like Machado and Harper and Trout, guys who are now going to be signed on contract for the next decade, right? At least they're going to be playing there maybe into their 40s, some of these guys. So it really is a long-term investment, and you really are looking, to see improvement over time. And also, you really want to build the team around them, be able to grow the organization and, make some playoff runs.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying a lot of players leave for money. How about players leaving for another player?
You know, see, that in basketball, we're seeing that a lot these days. You know, we see guys like Kawhi Leonard and Paul George going to the Clippers together to play on the same team. And see, personally, I like it because it breaks up this whole super team, you know, where we have with, you know, the Golden State Warriors, where they have 4 or 5 Hall of Famers on the court at one time. It just keeps the game more competitive, makes it more fun to watch. And also, you get to see a lot of great talent work with other great talent, which I think enriches the game and, you know, leads a better experience for everybody.
Look, there's no one, trust me, there's no one that hated the super team era more than me. It cost my team 4 championships. It actually cost us 3. You know, you go against those guys and you got to see 4 All-Stars, 4 Hall of Fame players on one team. It's just not good for the league. It's not good for the branding. It's not good for anybody else. You know, these duos, they're important. You got 2 guys. We're going to see who the best player in the league is this year. We're going to see who, you know, the best tandem in the league is this year. We're going to see who the best GM is because you got to actually, you know, build a team around these guys. It's important. You know, Golden State, all hats off for you. You did a great job. But did we really see if Bob Myers is a good GM? Did we really see if Steph Curry can lead a team by himself? Did we see if Kevin Durant can do it? We didn't. We just saw everybody else, oh, these 2 guys had an off night, the other 2 step up. It's just not fair. It's not fun to watch. When LeBron James has to go into these situations, you know, and he's, you know, outgunned, outmanned, is it really fair?
Absolutely. It's about finding the right pieces to fit your system, your organization, the best ways to move you forward. And, you know, in the NBA, you know, in contrast to the MLB, where we were talking about these long-term contracts, guys that are going to be there for 10, 13 years, in the NBA, we see a lot shorter contracts, right? People moving around a lot, especially signing these one-year deals. And, you know, a lot of lateral movement at the NBA level. It makes for a great show. Everybody is more entertained when more teams are doing better, you know, and competing every night. So that's what, you know, really looking forward to that moving forward. You know, I'd love to see us move away from the super team era of having 2 teams that are going to dominate all over, you know, and you know, before the season being able to tell who's going to be in the finals. And, you know, it's not really a question.
It's not a question. You know, it's going to be a question this year. That's what's cool about this season. Right. We got probably 4 or 5, 6 teams that can really win it. So
now, all that being said, will we see another dynasty climb to the top?
Oh, if you want me to be biased, I do. But, you know, I think what's cool about this situation that we're in is that, you know, each year a team can add a piece. So, you know, maybe it's the Lakers this year, but, you know, the Clippers next year in the offseason add a shooter. That makes a difference for them. Or next year, maybe it's the Portland Trailblazers. They finally get a wing player that can do something outside of, you know, C.J. McCollum and Damian Lillard. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see what they can do. And, you know, really just interested to see who really steps up. The MVP is wide open this year. You're not going to get, you know, Steph Curry, who kind of gets messed up with having all those guys on the team. I think Steph's unbelievable. But you can't give a guy an MVP with 4 All-Stars on his team.
Right, and I think there's no question that someday we're going to see another dynasty like the Golden State Warriors, where they're going to finals back to back to back to back, building this core around these unbelievable players. I think we're definitely going to see something of that nature again. Hopefully not soon. Hopefully, you know, what we see now kind of carries on, where you have a few really talented players joining together, not 5 together. Mm-hmm. You know, so I think that, you know, moving forward, we will see a dynasty again, but I'm not sure we'll ever see the likes of the Golden State Warriors on this run again.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys for joining us on All Access Sports. Up next, Cam will get into the state of the King's throne. Stay with us.
The power has shifted. A rebel from a storied dynasty was sent beyond the wall to start fresh, with a fan base starving for success under the oppression of a mighty tyrant that finally took his talents out west. This rebel against all odds found a way to not only slay the 4-headed dragon in the Bay, he fulfilled his destiny and returned balance to the NBA. In the early morning of July 6, 2018, the final domino fell, and Kawhi Leonard executed one of the greatest power moves in league history, when he not only signed with the Los Angeles Clippers, but also orchestrated a trade that would make all NBA forward Paul George his running mate in Tinseltown. Immediately fans and pundits alike were clamoring to slam LeBron and the Lakers for another blown opportunity and for wasting their time trying to recruit Leonard in the first place and gifting the Clippers the Larry O'Brien trophy before the season has even started. It's amazing how quickly people want to forget who the true ruler of the kingdom is. It's amazing how quickly people want to try and be blind to what's going on before their very eyes. Imagine averaging 27, 7, and 7 and being told you're washed up, finished, and old, all because your team didn't make the playoffs. Imagine missing 18 games watching your team fall from the 4th seed in a tough Western Conference to out of the playoffs in a little over a month. And then imagine rushing back to see if you could right the ship, only to realize it was a lost cause. One man can't do it all, contrary to popular belief. All the greats have had help. And if there's one thing the king has shown, it's that when his back is against the wall and all hope is seemed to be lost, he rises up from the ashes to reclaim what is rightfully his. Reclaim what he never thought he'd ever lose, your respect. And I don't know what it is, but it's getting a little crazy. The man who you want to be done is just getting started. He's retooled, he's healed, and he's ready for action. He's acquired a 26-year-old beast who not long ago you all were telling us was the future of the NBA. He's got a young gun ready to make a name for himself and prove he was the right player to stay. Not to mention a wily cast of veterans starving for a chance to return the Lakers back to the promised land. Yes, the era of the super team is over, and the age of the dynamic duo has just begun. And even though the crown seems ripe for the taking, don't be so sure it'll end up in someone else's hands, because the king will return to reclaim his spot on the throne. We know no king but the king in LA, whose name is James. Now back to you guys in the studio.
Well, that is all we have for tonight. Thank you for joining us, and be sure to keep tuning in for all the latest in sports. I'm Jordan Orcas.
And I'm Gino Ganello. We'll see you next time on All Access Sports.